Welcome to the weekly current affair class. Today we will be dealing with topic of marital rape, as you must have seen in the newspapers with respect to the judgment on MTP Act abortion case, where Supreme Court highlighted that rape must include marital rape in the case of MPT Act. So we will be discussing what is marital rape, arguments in favor as well as against, as well as the ethical perspective with respect to marital rape. Okay, the news has been in quite around for some time. Earlier, 6 months back, already in Feb or Jan, basically there was a judgment with respect to in Delhi High Court where split verdict was given on marital rape. Then also it was in news, and now again it has resurfaced with respect to the MTP Act. So we will be dealing with that. So first of all, why the particular this news item is in basically so frequent? First, here you must know that with respect to the reproductive rights of women, that is basically abortion was there. With respect to abortion, the judgment was given and the Supreme Court highlighted that all women are entitled to safe and legal abortion. You must know this is also significant for your prelims exams, that it is now till 24 weeks. Okay, that kind of thing may be asked in prelims, that it is 20 weeks, 16 weeks or 24 weeks, 25 weeks, like that sort of thing, under which under the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, and making a distinction on the basis of marital status is constitutionally unsustainable. Okay, this thing cannot be allowed. Okay, that if you individual is married and if marital rape has been basically, with respect to talk of significance of this judgment, the marital rape has been recognized but only with respect to Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. Here the rape will also include the marital rape, but not with respect to other issues or other acts, only with respect to this. The court also pointed out that rape must include marital rape for the purposes of MTP Act. That is why it was in news. I will repeat again, in a judgment with respect to the reproductive rights of women, that specifically in particular with respect to the abortion rights under the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, Supreme Court highlighted that the definition of rape, it has been expanded and it must include marital rape within its ambit. That is why basically this particular news has been so frequent now in newspapers. So moving forward, we will deal here what is marital rape and what does the law state about marital rape. First of all, you must have heard about the section 375 of IPC, which defines rape as well as enlists 7 notions of consent that if they are violated, that will constitute the offense of rape by a man. So which section talks about the rape, basically that is section 375 of the IPC. Then however, but this provision contains one specific exemption, that is sexual act by a man with his own wife, that will not be constituted of rape, that will not constitute rape. The sexual act by a man with his own wife, provided that it is not a child marriage, the wife should not be under 18 years of age. Okay, if these provisions are fulfilled, then that particular act will not be called as a rape. Now also basically you can avail legal remedy, but if there is a sexual assault or if there is some sort of discrimination or violence, sexual violence within the family, that basically, but it will not be classified as rape, it will only be listed as a sexual assault, and the legal course is available for non-consensual sex for marital rape under the provisions of Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act or section 498 of the IPC, cruelty against a wife by husband or by husband's relative. Okay, there is where you can get a legal remedy, but any act will not be classified as a rape. That is why basically there has been such hue and cry that this thing should be recognized, because see, our constitution, it talks about you must link it with these things: freedom, justice. Okay, these three values cannot be achieved unless and until the section which constitutes the 50% of our population is discriminated against. They are basically what we say, they are victims of violence, domestic violence, sexual assaults, and the process of empowerment must start from home. That is why there has been such a hue and cry with respect to why the marital rape should be criminalized. Okay, we will be dealing with the arguments basically with respect to why the marital rape should not be criminalized, then why a marital rape should be criminalized. First of all, see, the thing that you need to link it with is marriage. Marriage is an institution. It is a marriage in India. In our last class with respect to same-sex marriage also, we learned that basically marriage is a sacred institution. Why? Because many religious rites, rituals, okay, they are associated with the concept of marriage. Okay, marriage is a religious activity in India. It is considered as dharma, or if you talk in simplified term, it is a duty. Okay, so these type of things, basically classifying a marital rape as criminalized activity, it will destabilize this institution, because of which basically there may be anarchy in families. The families may break down. There will be a chaos in families. Number of families will get destabilized. They will break down. Why? Because the concept of marital rape has been criminalized. There will be a jump in number of cases. There will be legal cases also. There will be illegal cases also. Okay. Then the another issue is with respect to misuse of law. It may become earlier also, if you must have studied within your society classes, that domestic violence act is there. The act has been criticized on these terms only, that see, false cases have been filed against the husband to out of harassment, okay, or to put a pressure on the husbands. This thing may also be repeated with respect to marital rapes also, that it may become an easy tool for harassing the husbands by misusing the law, similar to the section 498A, like we have just learned, that it deals with the domestic violence act. That is a big issue with respect to this. Then the government itself does not want to, because the various committees, the law commission is there, or parliamentary standing committees are there. They have also highlighted that, see, this thing cannot be criminalized because it is very difficult to verify that how a crime has happened or what is the evidence of that particular crime. So Indian Law Commission as well as Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs, after thoroughly examining the matter, did not recommended the criminalization of the marital rape. That is another basically argument. Then obviously, like I have told you, there are implementation issues. The criminalizing marital rape will create serious implementation issues like veracity test of testimony evidence, that whether the crime has happened or not, how to verify that. Okay, what act is a basically consensual sexual activity and what act is basically not a consensual activity. So it is very difficult to verify. So you can also link it, this particular scenario, with the debate of tradition and modernity that is going on within the Indian society. See, why this change has been resisted by the Indian society. You have to link this particular issue with the debate of modernity versus tradition. What is tradition? Okay, the marriage being considered as dharma according to the culture, according to the rites. Okay, that is why there has been such hue and cry that, see, marriage as an institution should not be interfered with. It represents our culture, it represents our religious symbols. And whereas the other part is modernity, on which our constitution is based. Okay, it talks about individual autonomy. Okay, it talks about individual freedom, and like in our last classes with respect to same-sex marriage, Supreme Court has many a time stated that individual rights prevail over group rights. Individual consent, individual freedom, individual autonomy prevails over group rights. So that is how basically there has been a debate with respect to these kind of things, that what to follow, whether to preserve our culture, okay, or whether to preserve the basically constitutionalism or the constitutional morality which talks about equality, freedom. That is why we have not been able to basically understand what to do with this. Okay, if we are criminalizing, then there is a section of society that states that, see, you are diluting our culture, you are diluting our tradition. And if you are not criminalizing, then there is a other part, that section that states that, see, constitution talks about equality, constitution talks about freedom, and basically you are not recognizing that women, if they are under pressure, if they are not able to freely express themselves, if they are not freely able to exercise their reproductive rights, then basically they do not have freedom, they do not have justice, they cannot be considered as an equal member of society. If you truly want to empower the women folk of India, or if you truly want to empower the women section of society, then basically what you should do, we should recognize that women have the power to make the decisions, women have the power to freely express themselves, women have the power to freely what we say to manifest their reproductive rights. Okay, that is all the things basically without which they cannot be considered as an what we say empowered section of society. So this is a debate with respect to modernity and tradition. All the changes, whether any act or any basically what we say any social evil that is going on, that is child marriage is there, same sex marriage is there, then with respect to criminalization of marital rape is there, this all are basically the root that you will come to understand is that is a debate versus modernity and tradition. For example, take the case of child marriage. Tradition talks about age marriage at an basically early age, at 15 to 16 years before puberty. Then basically constitution talks about legal age is 18 years. There is a conflict between both of the things. This is a conflict that is here, that marriage is a traditional institution, okay, and basically you are interfering with that tradition. That is a basic issue. So we will also, in nutshell, what are the basic arguments against criminalization of marital rape? First of all, that it will destabilize marriage as an institution. People will basically fear, or they will be very anxious to whether to perform the act of marriage or not. Then there will be a misuse of law, how to implement this particular issue, how to verify, how to go for an evidence, and then basically after all the examination and the reports that have come far along, they have stated that this act should not be criminalized. Okay, moving forward, just give me a second. See, then there is a issue with respect to diversity of culture. We need to understand that, see, Indian society, we are in a state of transition. We are in a state of transition. Okay, we are neither a modern society, neither we are totally a traditional society. We have to consider the factors like literacy rates, like financial empowerment, then mindset of the society, poverty, all the things basically while criminalizing the act of marital rape. For example, if someone is illiterate, okay, there will be an issue with respect to awareness, how to use this law. Okay, even if somebody is literate, we must have come across various reports where there is an issue of poor learning outcome. Critical thinking is not there because our education system rests on rotting and cramming the things. Okay, we are not developed for critical thinking, creativity, innovation. So there is not, people are not having that rationality, not legal reasoning, basically how to and in which instances they have to use this particular act. So you will have to consider that. For example, marital rape has been recognized, woman has filed a complaint, it has been argued that, see, you will have to think, if the divorce happens, whether woman has a financial empowerment or not. Okay, what is the mindset of society? Again, link it with our previous class. See, the social change cannot happen unless it is approved by people, unless the people basically recognize that yes, this is something that we have to adopt, this is something that basically should be changed in society. Okay, this act will continue to be performed unless and until people recognize that see this is wrong. Then poverty, all these things should be carefully examined before criminalizing the marital rape. Then awareness is the other issue. Merely criminalizing the marital rape, okay, is may not stop if, again, like I have told you, if moral and social awareness does not play a vital role in the implementation of such act. If people do not have consciousness, people do not have a morality that what we are engaging in or what we are doing is basically wrong, we have not to do this. But again, basically that is why I have said you, it depends upon the will and attitude of the people, whether they are recognizing that change or not. That is a basic issue that is at our hand. So what are the arguments again listed here? There is a diversity in our culture and there is awareness. Now moving forward with respect to arguments for criminalizing the marital rape. First of all, we have that we need to secure or ensure the security of women. It will ensure that women remains safer from abusive spouses, and they can receive the help they need to recover from marital rape and can save themselves from domestic violence and sexual abuse. See, you will have to link, while understanding this, you will have to link it with patriarchy. Patriarchy is basically unequal relationships between men and women. Okay, to maintain the dominance of the male section, to maintain that decision making remains in our hand. What many a times what happens within the families is that make folk of the family, they perform domestic violence so that they can impose their will on the female folk, and further they may also go for the sexual abuse of the female folk, basically so that they do not question their authority. So in case of that scenarios, to protect them from violence, to protect them from sexual abuse, okay, to protect them from abusive relationships that they are in, it is essential that basically the marital rape should be criminalized. Then marriage is not a license. Okay, the rape, it rests on the basis of consent before marriage or after marriage. Even before marriage, what we consider as a rape, where the consent has not been given by the female folk, okay, then it will be categorized as a rape. But how marriage can become an escape route, how it can become an what we say safety valve, that basically if you are married, you have the right to abuse, to or indulge in basically sexual abuse just because you are married. Okay, if the woman does not want to give consent of them, or if they do not want to engage in sexual activity, basically this thing cannot be what we say escaped through. Okay, the marital rape, basically it should be, why it should be criminalized, because basically the consent of the woman matters. Okay, it should not be that basically if you are married then you have a license to do for the sexual abuse. If you are considering before marriage that see the consent of the woman matters, after marriage also the consent of the woman matters, even if it is against her husband. So marriage should not be viewed as a license for a husband to forcibly rape his wife with impunity. Further, married woman has the same right to control her body as does unmarried woman. Further, you may also know that Supreme Court has many a times in its judgments highlighted that woman has a right to bodily autonomy, right to self-dignity. So why it should not be protected? It cannot be the case that see unmarried woman has the right to bodily autonomy. Okay, they will have the right to consent with whom they want to engage in sexual activity, while that same freedom is denied to the married woman. So that is why I told you about freedom. Then equality that we discussed, we will have to link these things here. Then bodily integrity, like I earlier told you, is intrinsic to Article 21. Okay, a woman is entitled to refuse sexual relationships with her husband, as the right to bodily integrity and privacy is intrinsic part of Article 21 of the Constitution. Supreme Court has included sanctity of women and freedom to to make choices related to sexual activity under the ambit of Article 21, when Supreme Court has clearly stated that, like listed here, that see, women has a right to refuse basically sexual advances. They have the right to refuse basically what we say any sexual activity, even if that is to be performed by a husband and wife. They have a right to bodily autonomy, they have a sanctity, and they have a freedom basically to make their choices, whether they are with respect to reproductive rights or something else. Okay, and this thing has been recognized under Article 21, and Article 21 is your fundamental right. So why you should not criminalize marital rape when this thing has already been stated by the Supreme Court? Okay, right to bodily integrity is for everyone. It is not that basically it will be for unmarried women and not given to married women, and it should be available to others, that is male section of the society, and it will be denied to the married women. So this thing needs to be categorized. And again, privacy again is a fundamental right. In the case Puttaswamy case, Supreme Court highlighted that. So what are the basic arguments that are given there is that if you want to empower women, if you truly want to achieve the objectives listed in the preamble, we need to ensure that basically you are securing or security of women, okay, from domestic violence and abuse, so that just somebody wants to subordinate them. Then marriage is not an escape route, that if you are married, it does not give you a license to rape your own wife. Okay, the consent matters in marriage also. Then bodily integrity, that is also a case that has already been a part of Article 21 of the Constitution, and it is a fundamental right. Moving forward, see, then torture for life. A woman, see, normal scenario is that when an unmarried woman is raped by a stranger, okay, that sorry, that memory lives with her for because of that horrible attack. She is a victim of that. She may go through a mental trauma, psychological trauma, and that now the scenario of a married woman. Take the example there that basically woman is refusing the consent, and a husband basically goes for an what we say forcible sex with her wife every now and then, and she has to live with her husband for the rest of life 24/7. What kind of victimization, what kind of psychological trauma, what kind of mental trauma she must be going through. Okay, we need to consider that also. Then Article 14, like I have already told you, that women are also, they deserve to be treated equally under Article 14 of the Constitution, and an individual's human right do not deserve to be ignored by anyone, including by their own spouses. We need to consider that. Okay, the equality, it is basically for everyone. Okay, if you are just in another relationship, it does not mean that basically you are less equal to anybody. Further, if you take the scenario of global practices, the marital rape immunity, basically it has been basically recognized by Australia, by Canada, by South Africa. They have enacted laws that have criminalized the concept of marital rape, but marriage as an institution is also working in these countries. So if we are a democracy, we respect human rights, we talk of equality, we talk of freedom, we talk of distributive justice, but how to enforce it? By giving such legal basically mechanisms to the women section, by empowering them so that they can freely and in a fair manner exercise their rights. So what are the basically arguments made here? That is torture for life, okay, because she has to live with that individual for the rest of her life. Then Article 14, right to equality. Then global practices we have to see, because we are a democracy, this thing has been already recognized by the democratic countries. Then moving forward, just give me a second. See, we will also discuss the Supreme Court judgments here, the landmark judgments which have argued for the right to bodily integrity or right of the woman to make their own choices with respect to their reproductive rights. In the landmark judgment in 2018, Supreme Court in basically of India held that it will be considered a rape if a man has a sexual intercourse with his wife if she is aged between 15 to 18 years, because less than 18 it is already categorized as child marriage, okay, and the legal age for a girl to marry in India is 18 years. So it has been already recognized. Then in the state of Karnataka versus Krishnappa case, the Supreme Court held that sexual violence, apart from being a dehumanizing, go for the keywords, dehumanizing act, is an unlawful intrusion to the right to privacy and sanctity of a woman. Okay, that even if she is in a marriage or she is unmarried, it does not matter, but the concept of sexual violence, it dehumanizes individual being, and it is an intrusion, or it violates their right to privacy and sanctity, and this is already a fundamental right, you must know that, under article 21. So Supreme Court judgments are also paving the way for this. So why does not recognize it? Then Suchita Srivastava versus Chandigarh administration case, then here also Supreme Court equated the right to make choices related to sexual activity within the personal liberty, privacy, dignity and bodily integrity under article 21 of the Constitution. See, all the things have been mentioned in this case, that see, right to make reproductive choices is a right under personal liberty. Okay, then it is also a part of our privacy, it is also part of our self dignity, it is also a part of our bodily integrity. So the Supreme Court judgments have already paved the way for basically criminalization of marital rape. Okay, and if you like, in the starting we discussed about the recent judgment with respect to MTP Act. Here also Supreme Court has stated that with respect to the cases of abortion, rape must include marital rape also. Okay, so these are all the arguments that you can make with respect to criminalization of marital rape. Moving forward, we will be also discussing what are the ethical issues that are there with respect to the marital rape. Okay, this thing can be asked with your ethics, they can give you a case study, or they can simply ask you as such only. Okay, so first of all, the first ethical issue involved is individual autonomy and freedom. See, women should have a right to decide when, how they want to engage in a sexual union. The will cannot be enforced by husband. This is the first, what we say, argument, ethical issue that can be made here. You can also link it with basically whether to respect, like I earlier told you, whether to respect individual autonomy or to honor the tradition. Okay, so first the ethical issue that we have come across is with respect to individual autonomy and freedom. Women should have a right to decide, they should have a right to what we say, decide when and how they want to engage in a sexual union. Then second ethical issue is with respect to empowerment, how the women are to be empowered if they are to live with one who is incurring the sexual assault. Like I have already told you that the individual who is making sexual assault, who is dehumanizing her, basically they have to live 24/7 with that individual in an abusive relationship. And how we can talk of empowerment through policies, through cash incentivization and all of that, if our basic dignity and right to bodily integrity cannot be ensured. Okay, then there is also issue with respect to the misuse, that is an ethical issue, that basically all the cases are not right. What about the rights of men if they are wrongly accused of marital rape? That is basically the another ethical issue that is there. Then the issue of verification, how to establish an evidence in case of marital rape, that is a basic another ethical issue that is there. Moving forward, interference, like I told you earlier also, that marriage is a sacred institution with the religious rites and rituals. Isn't it an act of interference by courts if it is to be criminalized, or even by the government? Okay, we are a secular state, government cannot interfere in the religious matters. Okay, that is the issue. Then you can highlight with respect to modernity versus tradition, the institution of marriage should work as per traditional cultural phenomena. Okay, like it has been written down in Vedas or in scriptures or in any another religious text. Okay, or in spirit of constitutional morality, the equality, freedom, justice, the modern notions that the Constitution talks about. Another ethical issue is with respect to stereotypes. The basic issue here is that society would stereotype the questioning of falsity of a rape, accuse her of again filing a case of domestic violence. See, with respect to, like we have earlier discussed, what this particular ethical issue talks about is, if for example if women are already stereotyped that see they file false domestic violence cases with respect to the domestic abuse, there is already a stereotype with respect to that thing. Now with respect to marital rape, for example, she has filed a case and that has been falsified, that see there is no evidence of marital rape in the marriage, and afterwards again she files a domestic violence case that see I am going through the domestic abuse and government or courts should do something about it. But the society will create a stereotype that see earlier case was falsified, there was no evidence found, and now also see the same false case has been filed by her, whether in true basically or in reality she has been going through the what we say violence of abuse or basically sexual assault or domestic abuse. So what are the ethical issues that are basically present? First of all, you will have to talk about individual autonomy and freedom, okay, rights of a woman. Then you can talk about rights of men if false cases are filed. Then you can talk about stereotypes, okay, in case of false cases you can go for interlinkage, you do not have as such chronological order is not there. Then you can highlight basically whether it is an act of interference by the courts and by the government. Then you can highlight the debate of modernity versus tradition. Then you can also highlight basically how are to we go for empowerment of women section society, basically if they are to be violated or if they are to live with the individual who has been constantly abusing her. Okay, these are the things that you can highlight with respect to your ethical issues if the case studies come along or directly the question with respect to ethical issues regarding marital rape has been asked. Okay, so this was all that was there with respect to marital rape. Okay, and the question in the C's the mains that will be there is, you can note it down that while bringing out the ethical issues, in marital rape, highlight the arguments why marital rape should be criminalized in India. That is a 15-mark questions you have to answer in 250 words, and the model answer will be discussed within your Seize the Mains class. Okay, so that will be all from my side. Thank you very much. We'll meet next week.